Welcome and thank you for joining us for this Park Place Technologies webinar supported by Data Centres Ireland. My name is Kirsten Hill and I am the event manager for Data Centres Ireland. This webinar will be presented by Phil Godfrey, Solutions Architect at Park Place Technologies. The presentation is called Regain Your Control of Your IT with DMSO. Please visit the Data Centres Ireland website to view other on-demand content, as well as the latest information on the Data Centres Ireland Virtual Festival, which will be taking place on the 16th to the 20th of November 2020. If you would like to ask any questions during the webinar, please put these into the chat box. This webinar will be recorded and uploaded to the Data Centres Ireland website. And now, over to Phil. Thank you.
Thanks, Kirsten. So, just to give you a brief introduction into Park Place Technologies. We were formed in 1991 over in Cleveland, Ohio, which is where our headquarters still is. We're the largest third-party maintenance provider globally. We use our own parts, locations, and engineers, and we're stocking in the region of 500,000 parts, both regionally, locally, and on-site for various organizations. We're supporting in the region of 17,000 organizations across 58,000 data centers in 150 countries. The company is going through a large growth at the moment, both organically and through acquisition. And we've made around about a dozen acquisitions in the last 3 years, including Origina, based in Ireland, back in 2018. And as you can see on the slide, we've recently introduced a DMSO, or Discover, Monitor, Support and Optimize, which I'll be talking about very shortly. Our mission and our vision. Our mission is basically drive uptime, performance and value for critical IT infrastructure. This is essentially making sure your equipment works as much of the time as possible, as performant as possible, and make sure that you get value for your money. And our vision is as near as possible 100% uptime. Obviously that isn't quite possible, but it's uptime all of the time. And our mission and vision is formed through our service first ethos, where obviously you've got a problem, you need it resolving as quickly as possible. You don't want to be discussing the commercials. We'll sort that out later. So we're always very much service first. We are one of the largest globally, as I've already mentioned, and the dark blue areas are on the map here indicate the areas where we've got a presence. As I mentioned, we're headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio. The EMEA headquarters is in London, and we've got our APAC headquarters over in Singapore. And we operate a 24/7 support, follow the sun model, with operation centers in Boston, Massachusetts, Montevideo in Uruguay, Cork down in South Island, and Kuala Lumpur over in Malaysia. Significant proportion of our managed services team, which underlies the DMSO model, is based in EMEA, with members in Dublin, in Birmingham, in London, and over across in Denmark. So the offering that we have today, as I've already mentioned, with the third-party maintainer, which is vendor agnostic data center maintenance. We have Intuity Network Analytics, which was one of our acquisitions last year, which is network performance monitoring and analytics software solution, but also ParkView DMSO, which is a suite of applications and managed services that empowers you to essentially manage your full infrastructure as effectively as possible. So what is DMSO? We worked with various analysts, including Gartner, IDC, and Ovum, and our client advisory board, which is made up of around about 25 of our clients. And we discussed the top issues relevant to them today. And you'll see some of the comments on the screen that we heard from the analysts, such as who do I call to fix an issue? How do I eliminate the excessive costs? Are all my systems up and running? And are my systems performing at their best? And our aim with introducing DMSO is to try and bring order into the chaos that is those multiple questions. So the top 4 questions coming out of the conversations that we had is, what do I have in my environment? Now, a lot of people currently work on spreadsheets which have missing entries, duplicate entries there, and then we have issues where you might have an account manager who's very technology savvy, so he brings his own device in, or you might have the finance team who don't trust IT, so they have their own NAS box underneath one of the desks just to make sure that they get their own backups. How do I know everything is up? Well, obviously we get help desk calls, but what about the little known or little used systems such as payroll, which is only used once a month? Is it still up and running for the rest of the month? Who do I call to restore availability if there's an issue? Is it the OEM if it's within the 3 years? Is it a third-party maintainer if it's a little bit older? Or do we look after it ourselves? Do we go out to various people and buy the spare parts themselves? But is it just the hardware? Is it the operating system that's causing the problem? Is it applications that are causing the problem? And is my infrastructure performing as well as it should be? We all have monitoring there, but what happens if there is a problem brewing in the background that the monitoring isn't actually picking up? And obviously, a lot of the time we have multiple tools to look after all of these, and we have various partners that we can call on to solve the problem. But a lot of the time, we've found that these are manual processes, so it's labor and time intensive. The data that we have isn't necessarily up to date. For example, with DMSO, with Discovery, with the inventory, we might only do it once a month, once every 6 months, and therefore it's not up to date. And accountability, I'm sure we've all gone through the case of vendor ping pong, where we called someone up, oh, it's not my problem, it's their problem, etc., etc. So how does DMSO bring order into this chaos that we have? We have Discover, which will work on physical and virtual devices within your network. Could be on-premise or in the cloud, in the data center. And it could be anything such as servers or storage, or it could be desktops and peripherals. Monitor, again, this is physical hardware or virtual OS instances, or it could be network devices. The support, we might be looking after Dell servers or HP storage or Cisco networking, multi-vendor, and it might be various different operating systems such as Windows Server, Red Hat Linux, VMware ESX. And again, it might be applications, Exchange, Oracle, SCCM, etc. And then optimize, and I apologize for the Americanism with the spelling. We have to look at, do we have any network bottlenecks? Is there a DNS issue on the VPN? Is the shared storage that you're using on your virtual environment, is it running out of space? And all of this is available in a single pane of glass, served to you exactly as you want it, a la carte or bundled. And the single pane of glass is our portal. So a little bit more detailed on the individual parts. So the Discover, it's an automated process which is continuous. So it may be that the account manager with their home device plugs in at 8 o'clock in the morning, downloads something, and then disconnects. The Discovery part will pick that up. It creates dependency mappings and retains the history of the devices. So it's not just a single snapshot in time. The monitor part, that is for the hardware, it's server storage networking, it's the operating systems, and it's the networking. The support, we offer the hardware with predictive and proactive alerting. So it may be that a hard disk is about to fail, and we'll alert you on that in advance. But the OS support looks at patch management, it looks at updates, it looks at health checks, and the network configuration and root cause analysis, and then optimize. We make sure that the environment is still running and works out that you may need the odd changes in advance of any issues actually occurring. So, as I've mentioned, the DMSO is in 4 parts, and there's 4 applications which underpin it, along with the managed services on top, to make sure that any actions are actually taken. So just to go into a little bit of each of the various applications. So part view discovery, we've seen here our marketing team has gone above and beyond and created the Mountaineer. It just illustrates the various different issues with the manual discovery process. So the dispersed infrastructure, it may be you have locations in your offices, in your data centers, or it might be you have assets up in the cloud. The time-intensive, out-of-date manual audits, well, if you're only doing it once a month, once a quarter, once a year, in some cases, you will frequently be buying new devices, integrating them into your environment. And a lot of the time we think of this as painting the 4th bridge. Once you finish the audit, you need to start again. And if you're doing a manual discovery of the devices within your environment, you're obviously not able to take on your strategic initiatives within the environment, such as implementing new applications, and modernizing. And more often than not, when you're doing the discovery, you do identify some issues within the environment, and again you get distracted, so you have to identify those issues and remediate them. With part view discovery, it is, as I've already said, a continuous automated discovery process. So it just runs in the background. It provides you with the automated report when you want it. It will identify dependencies, which will help with potential upgrades or decommissioning projects in the future, and it will integrate with your ITSMs and CMDBs. The second process is our part view hardware monitoring. Now, this is another Americanism. I apologize. So this is our Candyland slide, and this illustrates the normal 8 steps that we've noticed with triaging and logging calls with either the OEM or with a third-party maintainer when you have an issue. So the first one is you discover a fault. Now that might be you've done an aisle walk and you've noticed a flashing light, or you get in hundreds of help desk calls saying a system is down. And so the next step is you call whoever is supporting you to generate the ticket, and a triage process begins. Now, the triage process may well be sending logs to and from. It might be reading the error messages on the devices. And more often than not, there are multiple calls and exchanges before we actually discover exactly what the problem is. Once that information has been passed on to the support provider, a field engineer is then scheduled to come out with the parts, and then occasionally either the wrong parts or the wrong engineer are assigned. Once all of that process has finished, the fault is actually resolved, and we can close the ticket down. With part view hardware monitoring, we can automate that entire process because it will log a ticket on your behalf. Because it's doing the monitoring, it will know the right asset, it will know the right component which has an issue, it will already know the error codes, It will send a ticket to the local engineer to the device. It will notify you that someone is on the way. And what happens if this error happens overnight? Well, it may even be that an engineer is sat waiting on your doorstep at 8 o'clock the following morning with the right part to let you know that, that there is an issue with your device and they've come out to fix it. So I've obviously mentioned if this is one of our support contracts, but what happens if it's still with the OEM? What happens if it's less than 3 years old? Well, we've got exactly the same solution, but which we call Part View First Call, but this is for the OEM. So again, we will make sure that we know the right asset, the components, the error codes, and then we'll log that call with the OEM on your behalf. So we make sure that the OEM has all the right information and they can come out and make sure that they come out with the right engineer, with the right parts, and you get the first time fix. Part View Network Analytics is based on Intuity Network Analytics, which was the acquisition last year, and it basically does all things network. So that's discovery. Make sure that every single network component within your environment is known. It looks at the performance. So we have a shore path analysis in there, which will look at the path between any two devices. So it might be from two devices within your organization, or it might be out to a software as a solution, a software as a service application that you're using, just to make sure that the path is clear and there's no potential bottlenecks within there. It'll look at event management within the network, just to make sure that there's no potential port flapping or any issues brewing on the network. And it will look at the mapping within the environment. So that's both geological and topological. So that's it integrates into Google Maps, so it gives you a precise location of each of the devices. And topological, it will give you all the interconnections between the devices within your environment. And Part View Network Analytics is the hosted version of Intuity Network Analytics, as I've already mentioned, and we provide the onboarding and assistance with any device management, and we provide you with the dashboard to give you the reporting of exactly what you want to see within the environment, and it gives that time back to the IT staff within your organization to be able to focus on what's important to the business. And just make sure that everything is running in smoothly as possible in the background. And it looks at the health and it monitors the health of the physical, the virtual, the cloud, and software-defined networks. And it will look at the software as a service and the cloud-based applications with SurePath. And again, it's got that VPN support to make sure that your remote workers are absolutely fine. So all of these service applications are underpinned with a value of managed services, and that's a team of people on top of the applications, making sure that everything is working for you as well. So the various different offerings of the managed services to go with the applications, we can take ownership of the entire infrastructure. That's not trying to put people out of a job. That's trying to enhance the offering that you can give to your business, and that's looking after every single part of the infrastructure. Or it may be that you have some skill shortages. We're finding more and more that Unix skills are getting rarer and rarer, and it may be that we just look after one particular area of your department or of your infrastructure, and just look after the Unix or the Linux or the one particular application such as Exchange. And it also, the other option is to maximize the value of your existing team. So all the IT teams, they want to look after the more interesting and strategic projects within your organization. So the option is to take over the more mundane daily admin tasks, such as making sure the backups have worked on a daily basis, or looking after the monthly patching on your Windows infrastructure. Or it may be that every now and again you just need a little bit of extra help. It's a fourth line query that you don't know where else to turn, and you've exhausted Google. And it just may well be that you just want someone to chat through a problem with. So just a brief summary of some of the applications and some of the infrastructures that we could help look after. And on the left-hand side, we've got the storage, we've got the network and the compute, and obviously all of the big names are in there. So there's the Dell, there's HP, there's IBM, Cisco. And that's looking after the day-to-day management and error management. Operating systems, that may be Windows, Linux, various flavors of Unix, and then into the hypervisors, so that's vSphere, Hyper-V, and into the VDI environments such as Horizon. And then obviously over into the cloud, so Azure and AWS. The applications which we're available to help you out with. So there's the Exchange, there's the SQL, SharePoint, etc. And then obviously there's the cloud versions, the software as a service, Office 365. And then backup and DR. Some of the names there, Data Protector from HP, or Veeam, or ArcServe, along with various others. So the DMSO stack, and this is our roadmap as we can see there. Obviously, the main thing to take away from this is that it is all under a single pane of glass, fronted through our portal. And at the compute and storage layer, we've got the discovery, we've got the monitoring, the hardware maintenance and capacity management, all the way up the stack into the database and application layer. So PartView Discovery will look after the physical hardware. So that's the server, the storage, and network discovery, but it also looks at the OS discovery as well. The monitoring is available there for the hardware, for the network, and for the OS, various different versions of OS, obviously. And then the network analytics is there for anything network, which is the discovery, the monitoring, the maintenance, and the performance. And one other, which I haven't already mentioned, is PartView Operating System, or PVOS, which again is there for all things operating system. So that's the discovery, the monitor, the support, and the capacity monitoring. And then we will be moving up into the database monitoring and maintenance and application monitoring and maintenance. And then the optimize part of the DMSO is the PartView remediation, which is essentially the managed services overlay on top of it. And that's looking at the OS support, the network maintenance, and the hardware maintenance within the stack. So just a brief summary, the DMSO message, again, brought in discussion with various analysts such as Gartner, IDC, Ovum, and Omdia. So at this point, I'd like to throw it open to any questions which which you may have.
Got someone typing. Okay, so we've got one from Andy Cranston. He says, are devices like intelligent PDUs included in the solution?
That's a really good question. pretty much anything which is connected to the network can be discovered. So intelligent PDUs will be on the list. Yes.
Wonderful. If we get any more coming through.
And that goes for it's anything servers, storage or network, obviously the big three, but it also goes into the end user devices such as laptops, desktops, printers, and again anything connected to the network, so PDUs. Yes.
Perfect. We've got one other typing. Do you have difficulty getting permission to run Discovery on a client's networks? That was from Greg Newman.
We've never had an issue so far, purely because it's from the customer who's actually wanting the Discovery to be run. Obviously, there are there obviously can be issues if certain areas of the business don't want the Discovery to be run, but it's, we've not had an issue so far.
Greg said thank you.
You're more than welcome, Greg.
Let's just wait and see if we get any more. There was a question asked earlier on by Andy just about whether the slides will be available after the webinar.
Yes, absolutely. We can make those available.
Okay.
That's no problem.
Perfect. Wait a couple more seconds. No one seems to be typing at the moment. Okay, I think that might be it for questions.
Okay. Obviously, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to listen to the DMSO story. Obviously, if you do have any questions in the not too distant future, please feel free to reach out to either myself or one of your Park Place account managers.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Oh, we've had a message. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Phil. That was very interesting.